foreigner who became a Hungarian hero, Károly Leiningen-Westerbork. From the 18th century, numerous ethnics lived in the Hungarian kingdom. Germans, Romanians, Slavics migrated to the country. However, the War of Independence of 1848 and 49 showed that despite the diversity of native languages, many of them fought for the freedom of Hungary and became martyrs of 1848. In March 1848, the emblematic events of the Street Revolution, which got into the national memory, took place in Pest, Buda, but the really important things in terms of constitutionality happened at the headquarters of the Diet in Pozsony, now known as Bratislava. The parliamentary delegation involving 4 future ministers and the Prime Minister, with the proposal of Kossuth, departed from this city to Vienna in the morning of 15th of March. 2 days later, Palatine Stephen, bestowed with full power, asked Lajos Batthyány to form the government. After the conciliation talks, the Prime Minister brought up the names of his cabinet for approval on the 2nd of April. The coalition government was formed, which included not only the members of the reform opposition, but some aristocrats loyal to the emperor, to ensure the sympathy of the court in Vienna. The majority of the ministers took their oath of office in Pozsony, directly before the civil transformation of the country was enshrined in law on the 11th of April. At that time, the 31st Infantry Regiment supernumerary captain Leiningen-Westerbork from Hessen, who lived in Pozsony with his wife Elis Sisányi and with his 2 children, stayed in the city. He followed the European events attentively, especially the news from German territories. He was enthusiastic for the uprising of Schleswig-Holstein against Denmark, which inspired him to participate in the events not only as a spectator, but also as an actor. As a nearly 30-year-old German from Hessen, officer of the Austrian army, with a Hungarian wife at his side, he took part in almost all important events of the War of Independence. Having a Hungarian wife, he was committed to local policy. He appeared for duty to Lászár Mészáros, the Minister of War, in October 1848. I am a landholder in Hungary, and this country is my country. That is why I would not want to move into such a regiment which does not obey the command of the Hungarian Minister of War. Firstly, he got into the Bánság Corps, which perhaps included the fact that he had family estates in this region in Törökbecse. After a short service in the General Staff, he was ordered for regimental duty. Then he became company and battalion commander. He fought in the Bánát campaign until the evacuation of the southern region in January 1849. There he met his future fellow martyr János Damjanich, and they eventually became very close friends. Leiningen-Westerbork knew only a few Hungarian words, but his soldiers would have gone through fire for him, and they did. In February 1849, during the struggle for the crossing point of Cibakháza, his excessive boldness and carelessness led him into the ring of enemy soldiers, whose uniforms misled him. The Imperials barricaded themselves with their prisoner in a hostelry. During its recapture, some soldiers of Major Leiningen-Westerbork were injured seriously or died, but finally the commander was freed. Rewarding his heroism in the Battle of Szolnok dated 5th of March, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel. Damjanich personally pinned the Military Order of Merit 3rd degree onto his chest. His first meeting with Artur Gergely was during the preparation of the spring campaign. Leiningen-Westerbork fought the rest of the War of Independence under his command. Then I met a man in the true sense of the word, and I devoted my life and my whole affection to him. During the liberation of the country, he took part in all battles of the main theatre of war. As a colonel, he fought at Tápióbicske, Isaszeg, Vác, Nagysalló, and Komárom. The traitor Gergely myth was partially made up because the Hungarian chief did not march against Vienna. This decision can be explained with concrete military facts. In the circa 1 month of the spring campaign, the main army moved far from its original position. Therefore, it struggled with serious resupply problems at the time. Soldiers were exhausted, the strength of some units was strongly decreased, so they were unable to continue any offensive operations. Considering its positive psychological effects, the recapture of the capital was the best outcome they could achieve in that situation. Leiningen proved his heroism in the final attack once again. Relating to the siege of Buda, in 2 German-language newspapers he was unjustly accused of having massacred prisoners of war. At a last resort standing under the gallows of Arad, he took the opportunity to protest against the accusations. He fought the summer campaign as a general with the army chief. Particularly, he honored himself in the Battle of Vác. In the hopeless political and military situation on the 11th of August 1849, Kossuth and the present members of the Hungarian government delegated all power to Artur Görgei, who opened negotiations with the Russians. Before the capitulation, foreign generals and staff officers were called to leave the army and save their own lives. None of them fulfilled it, neither did Leiningen. At only 30 years of age, he was sentenced to death as the youngest general. Before his execution, he spent his last night to write a letter addressed to his loved ones, his sister-in-law, his sister, and his wife. My only one, Lisa, I love you till my last breath. I know that your heart will bleed, but your sense of duty toward the children will alleviate your pain. His last letter dated the morning of the execution to his brother-in-law, Lipót Rohonci, who was held captive with Leiningen in the castle of Arad. The letter is especially dramatic, since he mentioned that he has just heard the sound of volley firing, which killed his comrades. His 1848-49 career started from Pozsony, along with the first responsible Hungarian Prime Minister, Lajos Batthyány, and later their fates intertwined in the common martyrdom on October 6th.